All right, welcome to the Pump Like a Boss live event. I am so excited to be doing this right now and to be presenting to you about all of my favorite tips for successful working and breastfeeding. My goal for this is to make sure that you are walking away with something really valuable, something that is going to benefit you throughout your journey going back to work and provide you with some ideas of how you can really establish some success for yourself. So let's dive into this. So here's what's coming up. We have a lot to cover in a really short amount of time, so I'm going to do my best to get through this as quickly as possible without going too fast. We're going to cover the purpose of having an actionable plan for success. We're going to talk about how to talk to your boss about your plans to pump at work. We're going to talk about why your childcare needs to be on board with your plans. We're going to cover tips for pumping more milk in less time, dealing with the emotions of having to leave your baby behind, and then we're going to talk about some action you can take right now to put your plan together. And if you stay with me all the way through to the very end of this, I have something really special for you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about me, my background, and my why. Why am I even doing this? So I am a CLC, CLE, which are my lactation credentials. I have been supporting women with breastfeeding for over 6 years. I got my first certification when my first was about a year old, and he was my whole reason why I went and got certified in the first place, because we were struggling like crazy. And once we made it through that, I realized, wow, I love this. So I got my first certification, then my second certification, and then I started working in a breastfeeding clinic. And I worked there for about 18 months, and partway through my journey, I had my second baby and found myself a working and pumping mom. And the work that I did there at that clinic was supporting women prenatally and supporting them throughout their whole breastfeeding journey as well. So I saw them postpartum and helped them troubleshoot breastfeeding issues, helping them learn to latch their babies. And then I also supported them when they decided to go back to work. And I did pump fittings, and that's where I really found my interest in breast pumps and helping women make sure they have the right fit. And also where I started to notice that there was a really big discrepancy in support available for women who were going back to work. And I saw that they were struggling with their working journeys. They were struggling to keep up their milk. They were struggling with unsupportive employers, and they were struggling with, coworkers that were giving them a hard time, struggling with their babies in childcare. And you know what? I was going through the exact same struggles myself, and I worked in a breastfeeding clinic of all places, right? And so I decided that I needed to do something about it and figure out why it was that these women and myself were having these struggles. And so I really sat down with them, really talked to them, and figured out, okay, where did things start to go wrong? And pinpointed exactly what was happening. And what I ended up learning throughout all of this was that the way to make sure that these women were going to be successful was to give them the tools they needed and the resources necessary to have success before they even went back to work. We put a lot of focus before on, let's build that milk stash, make sure you have enough milk, but there were 1,000 other pieces that we weren't covering and discussing and figuring out before these women and before even myself went back to work that time. So I figured it out, put it all together, and then created something to help these women go back to work. And what I'm going to share with you now is a little bit of what it is that I put together from my experience and from theirs. So let's talk about having an actionable plan. This is why you're here, right? You want to be successful with work, and maybe you're not quite sure how. You're looking for ideas you can take action on to give yourself and your baby the easiest time possible during this journey. And if you've read any of my emails at all, you already know the statistic that 80% of women will give up breastfeeding within the first couple of weeks going back to work. Now, I did not make this up. This is a real statistic, and it is just as upsetting to me as it is to you. And I am 100% not okay with this at all, which is exactly why I'm here doing this live event right now for free. All right, so what can we do about it? How can you make sure you're successful? Well, you need to create an actionable plan. Know what lies ahead for you. Understand the most important things you need to know before going in, and understand what's crucial as far as your baby is concerned, your milk supply, and everything that will need to be coordinated in the workplace. And then you got to put it together in a plan that you can take action on. Without a plan, you are likely to fail. And that is true for everything in life, not just for working and breastfeeding. And I think that that is the biggest thing I took away from supporting working women in my clinic, is that without a plan before they went back, they were failing. And you know what? I was struggling too. So here's some more examples of things that you might fail at if you don't have a solid plan. Weight loss. You can't just say, I'm going to lose weight today without a plan and knowing what you're going to eat and how you're going to exercise. You're likely to not do very well. Finances. You need to have a budget, right? If you don't know how much money you have coming in and how much money you have going out, you're just going to spend like crazy. Getting a degree. You can't just aimlessly take classes to get a degree for college, or planning an event or a wedding or a birthday party. You need to have a solid plan in place to know the steps to take to put the event together. And going back to work is the same thing. You cannot just expect to show up and hope it all works out. You need to fully understand each aspect of working and pumping to prevent the obstacles the majority of women face, like not fully understanding using breast pumps and also how they fit, or having caregivers pressuring you for more milk because they don't understand feeding cues and appropriate milk volumes for your breastfed baby. But don't worry, we've got quite a bit to cover tonight, so let's dive more into it. So how do you talk to your boss about your plans? This is an important one. First things first, you need to have a plan and really know what it is that you'll need to do to maintain your supply at work. If you don't have a plan, then really you'll have nothing to talk about. And if you're leaving it up to your boss or your human resources department to tell you what to do, they're likely not going to present a plan to you that will actually work for you. And how could we expect them to, really? They're likely not the experts on working and breastfeeding. So know the how, know the when, and the where before you try to talk to your boss. Number 2, be prepared to set some boundaries and have a talk with your employer about the laws in place to support breastfeeding working mothers and how they specifically apply to your place of employment. Now, the law does not affect everyone the same way, so please make sure you know how it impacts you based on your employment status and the company that you're working for. Number 3, talk to your boss about the benefits they'll get from allowing you to pump at work. They may see your needing to take time away from work as kind of a negative thing. And if that is the case, and you feel like that's the vibe you're getting about coming back to work and pumping, come in ready to talk up the positives and spin this in their favor. A couple of examples of ways you can do this. You'll spend less time off work with a sick baby because breastfed babies are getting antibodies from your milk and less likely to be sick. And if they do get sick, they're less likely to be as sick for quite as long as a baby who's not being fed breast milk. So that's a pretty big perk, right? Less missed work. Your satisfaction will be improved as an employee working in a supportive environment, and this will help with employee retention, not only for yourself, but in the long term. And employee turnover is expensive for companies, so you're saving them money there too. And being known as a breastfeeding friendly business is only going to benefit their company and attract new hire recruits. There are some big time corporations that are already taking action to go above and beyond for their breastfeeding employees, and soon your company will have no choice but to keep up with them anyways. So this is their opportunity to get ahead of the game. So let's change subjects and talk about childcare and why you absolutely need to have your childcare on board with supporting you in your breastfeeding journey, and not only supporting you, but understanding how to support and really care for your baby. Maintaining your milk supply at work is not easy. Your pump is just not going to be as effective as your baby, and you'll likely be working for that milk, or you're going to be working hard for that milk. So it's imperative that your caregivers are supporting your baby properly and not wasting your time and your hard-earned breast milk. So overfeeding bottle-fed babies seems to be the norm in childcare, and this is not helpful when you are trying to keep up your supply at work. So what happens when babies are overfed? Well, number one, it's hard for you to keep up and almost impossible to increase your supply to meet this very unnecessary demand, right? It's hard and really defeating when they're pressuring you for more milk. And there's long-term health risks for overfeeding when it comes to your baby. One of the risks of obesity, or one of the risk factors for obesity, is learning to overeat from infancy, and that happens by being overfed from a bottle. And then not only that, your baby will learn to eat for comfort, which will carry over throughout the rest of their lives and into adulthood. So Successful Breastfeeding, which is my company that I own, we have done research based in childcare settings. And one common theme that I found in supporting working breastfeeding moms is the childcare struggle with overfeeding babies and being pressured to provide more milk unnecessarily. So I decided to do some research on this and try to figure out why this happens. And I got some really telling results from my research. And I'm going to share some of the results from our survey with you in the next few slides. Now, these are results from a survey that I compiled and shared and sent out to 53 different childcare centers who had responded back. So we have results from 53 different childcare centers across the country, and I'm going to show you these results right now. One of the questions I asked was, do you use paced bottle feeding? And paced bottle feeding is absolutely essential to allow babies to take in the volume that they need and not more than that. And there's a very specific method for paced bottle feeding. And when I asked them if they used paced bottle feeding, what I want to point out here, what's absolutely shocking to me, is that 49.1%, almost half of the people who took this survey, responded with, "I'm not sure what that is." So they don't even know what paced bottle feeding is, which means that they're probably not doing it. 9.4% said no, we're not, meaning they know for sure that they're not using paced bottle feeding. 9.4% said yes, but only with some of their babies. And only 32.1% said that they actually were using paced bottle feeding. And what's sad about that 32.1%, and this will make sense when you see the next couple of slides, is that the people who said yes, we're using paced bottle feeding, most of them are probably not actually using paced bottle feeding, because they think paced bottle feeding is giving the baby a bottle for a while, sitting baby up, burping them, and then giving the bottle back. And I know this because I've spent a lot of time talking to childcare providers, and this is how they describe paced bottle feeding to me. So let's go on to the next one. This is another important one that came back really shocking to me. How much milk does a breastfed infant under 1 year of age need every 24 hours? So what's the right answer here? The right answer is 24 to 30 ounces of milk. That is true for a baby from about 6 weeks old to about a year old. And then after that, the number actually starts to decrease a little bit. So your baby doesn't actually need more milk once their belly matures throughout that first year. It stays the same, okay? So 24 to 30 ounces of milk is what they need. And only 28.3% of the people we surveyed actually knew how much milk an infant needs. The rest of them were quite far off, and we had a larger number underrepresent how much an infant needs, and then more than that actually overestimated how much a baby's going to need. Now, what's conflicting to this is even more information that we were able to gather. The not knowing how much they need in a full 24-hour period is not quite as shocking as what I'm about to show you, and that's this. So how much milk at maximum should an infant at least 6 weeks old to about a year be drinking per feeding? Now again, the stomach size is not going to change once the belly has matured at about 6 weeks. It's going to stay the same for about the first year. And when I asked this question in the survey, I was being a little bit tricky with my questionnaire because the correct answer was actually the first one, 5 ounces. 5 ounces is the maximum a baby should be receiving in a bottle throughout the first year. And the average feeding is about 3 to 3.5 ounces. But 5 ounces is the maximum a baby's stomach should be able to hold, and only 11.3% gave that response. There was a shocking 37.7% that said 8 ounces was the normal maximum amount that a baby should be getting. Some even responded with 9 ounces, 7 and 6 ounces was the other large response that we got. So only 11.3% said 5 ounces was the maximum. And that's how I know that this 30.2% is actually not using true paced bottle feeding, because if they were, they would know that 5 ounces is the most a baby should be getting. So what does all of this even show, and why does it matter? Well, caregivers still are not aware of what is actually appropriate for breastfed babies, and they don't understand paced bottle feeding and why it is so important. And this means negative consequences for your baby and for your pumping journey. But don't panic, because there's absolutely something that can be done. And if you hang in until the very end of this event, I have something awesome you can share with them that will radically impact their care tactics for you. All right, so let's switch gears one more time and let's talk about my tips for pumping more milk in less time. No, I'm not going to cover this topic in depth, especially since most of you signed up for this webinar after downloading our free Pump More Milk Now guide. If you haven't done it yet, head to successfulbreastfeeding.org after this and go grab it under our Freebie tab. You can also check out our blog for some more tips about getting more milk out in less time. But what I do want to talk about is something that's absolutely crucial for making sure you're able to pump as much milk as possible. And that is your breast pump, and specifically how that pump fits you. 40% of women are actually using the wrong size breast shields. And that's pretty crazy, right? And unfortunately, that also means that those 40% of women are going to end up pumping less and also likely going to hurt themselves. When your shields are too small, it restricts the nipple and it squishes your nipple openings, so the milk can't flow as easily, which leaves milk behind. And when your shields are too large, it pulls in too much areola and it doesn't allow your nipple to stretch into the tube the way that it should, which means your milk is not going to let down properly, which leads to leaving milk behind. So when your pump is fitting you properly, the nipple will stretch in the tube properly, which will allow your milk to release and flow optimally, and it will help you move as much milk as possible. Now, fitting a breast pump can be tricky. It does take a skilled eye to determine the fit, and I've regularly seen other LCs get this wrong. There's an old school of thought that you can decide the fit of a pump by just looking at or measuring the nipple, and that is not how it works at all. I've seen guides online with pictures or drawings of what the fit should look like, and I do think that those are better. However, we regularly do fittings with moms who've used those guides, and they still don't have the right size, even though they think that they do based on those guides. The person who is fitting you should be watching you pump for at least 5 minutes on both sides, and then using a few different points of reference to decide whether or not it is fitting you properly. So how you use your breast pump matters too, and also making sure you maintain it. Every pump is different and the settings do matter. You want to make sure you really know your breast pump. You don't want to just turn it all the way up and hope for the best. You need to make sure your suction is comfortable while also still as effective as possible. So changing the parts regularly and routine maintenance is also crucial for good milk output. Your pump is like a car, and just like any car needs to be maintained, so does your breast pump. All right, so switching topics again, let's talk about dealing with the emotions of leaving your baby behind. And I mean, I don't want to lie to you. This struggle is going to be real, and there's no sugarcoating it. It's going to feel like part of your heart was ripped out through your gut. At least that's how it felt for me. And I'm pretty sure I cried every day for 2 weeks straight when I went back to work after my second baby. But I will say it does get a little bit easier. And there's a few important things you can do to make this part, the emotional part of it, at least a little bit better. That's number one. Know your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you go back to work? And there is no right or wrong here, but if you really know your why, the action will be a lot easier. Are you really into your career? Does what you do make an impact on other people? This one was my why and is still my why today. Or maybe it's purely financial. And if it's the last one, let's think of some ways that this can be really positive for you. You want to make sure that your why is a reason that makes you motivated, not something that's going to weigh you down, even if that means stretching to come up with your motivation. So number two, you can bring something with you to work that smells like your baby. This is going to release those feel-good hormones. When you miss them, hold that item, smell it, and remind yourself you'll be with your baby again very soon. Then take another second after that to check in with your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you here? And ask yourself, who are you able to serve today? And what fulfillment is bringing for you? This will help you stay present and focused at work. And number three, and absolutely not last, you need support. You are absolutely not alone in this journey. Thousands of other moms are along this ride with you, and you need to check in with those who are in it and can tell you, yes, this moment does suck. And it's okay not to love this, but we love you, we're here for you, and we hear what you're saying. And before you know it, one day in the future, you'll also be providing the same encouragement to other moms who need it too. But for now, use that support because you need it right now, and that's what it's there for. One of the best places that we see women getting support for back to work is in our own community. And if you're not in it yet, please join us. You can find the Successful Breastfeeding Community on Facebook. So after this event, please head to Facebook and search Successful Breastfeeding Community. All right, so what action can you take right now to make all of this as easy as possible? Well, I have some good news. We have something for you. And that is what I was talking about at the beginning of this workshop. It's what I have worked years to put together, inspired by my own struggle and the struggles my clients were facing. What I'm about to share has been tested time and time again with our clients and has proven to set them up for success at work and prevent much of the struggles they would have faced without this. And I call it the Successful Breastfeeding Back to Work Workshop. And it includes all of this: how to pump milk for your stash, including what to do before you start pumping, how to figure out how much you're going to need, and how to actually go about putting it together, everything you need to know about pumping itself, including an overview of different breast pumps, how to use different breast pumps, and complete tutorials of both the Spectra and the Medela pumps. How to pump while you're at work, including figuring out the where and the when, putting together a plan of action, and everything you need to track for success, plus a legal rights bonus with a really awesome downloadable sheet that you can share with your boss so you don't have to explain it. How to bottle feed your breastfed baby, including how to practice with the bottle before you go back, all about paced bottle feeding, which is what I talked about being really important and why it's so important, milk storage and reheating milk guidelines, plus awesome bonus content that we've just recently added, including a private session with me and my team, follow up after you go back, how to deal with stress without hurting your milk supply, principal pumping affirmations, a pump more milk relaxation audio, supplements for increasing milk supply, and easy handouts for tracking literally everything. Plus, just for you who have stayed with me through this event, and thank you so much, some really special freebies. So freebie number 1, I am going to give you the breastfeeding supportive childcare training for your childcare center, literally for your entire childcare center. This is a service that we charge money for, and I'm going to give it to you for free. You can use it with a full childcare center, just your nanny, a babysitter, grandparent, whoever it is that's going to be watching your baby while you're away. I will make sure they are given every single tool they need to be breastfeeding supportive, so they will feed your baby properly, follow your baby's cues, and not pressure you for more milk when your baby does not need it. I'm going to teach them why it's important to support you and your baby, give them the tools and resources to keep on hand for you and your baby, teach them paced bottle feeding, real paced bottle feeding, and baby-led feeding practices for when they start solid foods. I'm going to teach them how to understand infant cues, how to comfort your baby without having to feed them, and how to bottle feed the bottle refusers, because that happens a lot too, and it can throw people for a loop. And there's a whole lot more inside of this workshop that I will share with your care providers as well. And again, they're going to get this for free. Freebie number 2, 12 full weeks of private support. So normally with our workshop, we include 2 weeks of private support to help troubleshoot after you go back, because as best as we plan, sometimes the unexpected will pop up, and we are absolutely committed to your success. So we make sure the support is available for our clients. But I am upgrading you to 12 weeks. That's 3 whole months of continuous support, 7 days a week. We're literally in your back pocket and ready to go through your struggles when you need it, because we want to make you successful, and we are here to be part of your journey for the amount of time that you need us, because it is important to us. Plus, you also get a private pump fitting and usage session with our team, and this is one of my favorite things to do. We're going to make sure your pump fits and that you know how to use it. You're also going to have the opportunity to talk through your plan for going back to work, answer any questions you have about going back to work or the workshop itself, all while making sure your pump is going to be as effective for you as possible. So you'll get the full self-paced online back to work workshop plus free extensive training for your childcare, so I can make sure they have all the tools necessary to fully support your breastfed baby, and an upgrade to 12 full weeks. That's 3 months of continuous support for you, and I'll be there for you as soon as you need me, 7 days a week. Plus, included is a private session with us to fit your pump, answer your questions, and make sure your pump is as effective as possible. So just a quick recap of the workshop: how to pump for your stash, everything you need to know about pumping, how to pump while you're at work, bottle feeding your baby, plus all of the awesome bonus content that comes inside of your workshop, including all of the legal stuff that you need to know, plus the exclusive free childcare training, upgrade to 12 weeks of support, and your included pump fitting. I'm making all of this available to you right now for instant access to all of this right now for only $197, and that is an incredible value. These services are truly invaluable, and if you purchase them separately, it would cost you more than double what you'd actually be paying today. And I'm literally giving away some of our best services: the pump fittings and the private support, this childcare training, and those are exclusive to those of you who are here with me right now. If you sign up for this workshop at any other time, you'll pay the same price without the bonuses. So this is a no-brainer. So I'm going to be sending the link for you guys to sign up right after this event closes. So don't delay, go sign up, start your workshop immediately, and access your support with me and my team. And if you don't want to take my word for it, listen to this review. It's from Jamie Rudnicki, who is a Back to Work Workshop graduate. She's an architect, and she's gone through my course twice, both the original version and the upgrade. And this is what she has to say: this course is so good. It's really evident how much time you put into this. Honestly, you really cover everything necessary, including a lot of the issues people likely end up Googling. The videos make it feel really personal and are effective for many of the visual items. So that's it. That's what I have for you. I really hope that you took something really big away from this. So thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being here. I love teaching and I love presenting, so this was fun for me. Thank you for listening and staying with me all the way through the end. I am so honored to be supporting you on this journey.